and you insist on being a dick about it, and you still want to ride on the road, ride on the side.
No,
You
don't be
can't.
a dick.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, don't be a dick.
Intrepid Podcast number 2, What to Do with PME.
Hi everybody, welcome to podcast number 2. Okay, today we have John, Chu, and Sing, and of course me as well. So today we're going to talk about electric scooter, classified by the Singapore Land Transport Authority as a personal mobility device. So we have Chu here today. He's from Mobot, local e-scooter retailer in Singapore.
Largest retailer. Correction. Largest.
Largest retailer in Singapore. Responsible for the day-to-day operations of Mobot and compliance, sales, and many more. So, welcome to the show, Chu. Hi, Chu. Okay. Hi, all. Chu, maybe you can tell us more about yourself first.
Yeah, I started in the industry, the e-scooter industry back in 2016. So Mobot was actually founded 2014. So that was a time where e-scooters was actually picking up. But it actually started way before 2014. It started about 2012. Okay. So at that point of time, the popular brands were like GoPro. They were using diesel and things like this. So using electricity and using lithium-ion really comes into place in around 2014. So the initial strong brands, there were just a few. But now if you look at the market, it's widely used by a lot of riders, used by a lot of parties.
So, electric scooter, right, before you don't need to have any registration, right? But recently I understand that there was a registration deadline set by LTA on June 30. So, does that mean that nowadays, right, those that brought before June 30, the electric scooter cannot be registered?
Okay, the deadline for what we call a non-UL 2272 certified e-scooter, the deadline was actually 30th June 2019. So if you are currently owning a non-UL 2272 e-scooter and you did not register, it basically means that e-scooter is actually illegal.
So, but even if it's illegal, can they still register?
They cannot register because LTA deadline is 30th June 2019.
Okay.
So if you miss that deadline, basically means you can keep it in the storeroom.
Oh, you mean people can register themselves?
Yes, they're supposed to register on the LTA One More Touring website.
Okay. So once you miss the deadline, you can never do the registration again?
Correct.
Okay. So for those that is bought after 30th June, they are automatically registered?
No, you still have to register using your SingPass on the LTA One More Touring website. The only difference is that from 1st July 2019 onwards, the law requires all retailers to actually sell only UL 2272 certified e-scooters. So basically from 1st July onwards, you are getting a compliance scooter.
Okay.
You won't have the issue of actually having a non-compliance scooter.
So for the logistics aspect, right, quite interested, for those that is not compliant, are they scrapped off or condemned or?
Okay, it actually depends. Owners can still keep it because the law only doesn't allow you to ride on public path.
Okay.
It doesn't state that you cannot own a non-compliant scooter.
So you are like circling inside the office using that?
Yeah, kind of defeats the purpose.
But there are some customers or some corporate customers who use it for patrolling.
Okay.
So in this case, if it happens within their industrial estate,
like a private.
it's actually a private place.
Okay.
Alright. Or inside the condominium, it's actually a private place. But the moment you go into public path, then it's illegal.
Not bad, So like, Eric, go and photocopy it.
Usually you can't. So I know they got this type of scooter. It's called nine board. So like you can stand right, then you just stand there, then you just move, then the whole thing will move. I think it's better. That one is better for kids. You saw before?
No, it's not.
No way.
Hoverboards are dangerous, bro.
Huh?
What?
It's smaller. The scooter so big, right? The office not that big.
But it's more prone to accident with people that doesn't have a handle, right? For example, you are holding like a bloody laptop, right? Then
So is it safe?
So the learning curve is higher for using hoverboard lookalike or unicycle. The learning curve is much steeper.
Hoverboard is what type?
Basically 2 wheels. They actually balance by itself.
If you're going back to the future standards, it's supposed to actually be floating. But
But
I
So
forgot
now
about that one.
It's a
And that's why I never had a good thing for
But unless your office is like
because they're not hovering.
unless your office is huge as fuck, right? Then you wouldn't want to have that kind of
huge as fuck.
huge as fudge. Then you wouldn't want to use that, right? But it would be fun, right? But can you still sell like those non-certified ones to corporates for their own premise usage?
Can. We can still sell to corporate. We can still export to overseas. Just that the retailers actually have a obligation to make sure or to ensure that the user actually buy it and doesn't use it on multi-path. So take for example, if somebody wants to buy it for overseas, then we may request that he needs to show his passport, he needs to show his air ticket, and we get him to sign a waiver that he's going to bring it overseas on this particular date. If not, then we won't be able to sell it.
So if any corporate in Singapore that actually buy it and they say that they'll be using within their private premises, but they actually ride out of their gate. So if they got into trouble, will it affect mobile?
No, it won't. Because we already do the due diligence check when we actually sell to them. So it's actually their own responsibility.
And they sign the paper.
Correct. It's their own responsibility to ensure that they do not move out the boundaries. But having said that, usually we will recommend them to buy for corporates in Singapore to actually buy a UL 2272 certified or LTA compliant e-scooter. So they can use it without any
So what is a UL 2272 certified scooter? What is it like? What is it? Because we don't know. We only know it's UL 2272, but what is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
There has been much confusion since the LTA mentioned this particular standard called the UL 2272 last September 2018. So most of the public mistaken that as the standard for the lithium-ion batteries, which is actually not. The UL 2272 is basically a standard for the entire e-scooter, and battery is only one component that they test. In the e-scooter.
Entire e-scooter is how
So like the shape also matters.
Correct. Just give one example. They will actually test by actually so-called like soaking the. I won't really use the word soaking, but they will actually place the e-scooter inside a tub of water. The water will actually go up to the level of the deck.
with the battery immersed.
With everything in. So as it is. This is to check whether the water will actually get into the electrical compartment. So after this testing, they will take out and then they will try to charge. So if it works, then it's okay. If something happens, means it doesn't pass the test.
So does that mean that UL 2272 scooter they are waterproof?
No, they are actually not waterproof. So it actually depends on the design of the scooter. So some scooters may need to make it more waterproof because the water may touch or may have the tendency of actually going to the electrical components. But some scooters, because their battery actually mounted much higher. So no matter how you do the test, it actually doesn't touch the electrical components. One good example is actually the DYU. So the DYU battery is actually mounted above the foot pedal. So the water never touches.
So it's the water level is fixed.
Correct. It's actually deck level. That means where you place your foot. That is where the water level will be.
Deck level, where you place your foot.
Correct. So if it's a standing scooter, then it will be the standing deck. If it's a seated scooter, then it will be the footrest.
Okay. So how do they actually verify? Like people have different foot length. So what is the industrial standard for the
foot length as in?
Because when they're standing, you're saying that it's at the foot level, right?
Correct. The foot level is the same for any rider.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're standing on the deck.
Correct.
Yeah, so there's also a handicap scooter, right?
Correct.
Not handicap like
Mobility.
Mobility aid.
Correct.
What's the difference?
Basically, a personal mobility aid consists of electrical wheelchairs, mobility scooters. So these are mobility devices that are designed for those with difficulties in motion, to some extent handicapped, physically challenged, or even just elderly who doesn't have the strength to actually walk. So the design is a little bit different. It's actually more stable. It has some auto braking functions. So it doesn't come under this e-scooter category. Okay?
So no UL?
Correct. So it doesn't need to comply with the UL 272 requirement. So basically, mobility aids actually have a separate requirements, which has already been adopted by the industry for very long. Because electrical wheelchairs is not something that's new. It's not like e-scooters that came in quite hot recently. It has been there for a very long time. So there has already been established.
So the battery, right? Is there any difference between the mobility aid and the PMD?
There is no difference. Correct. There is actually no difference. But most of the mobility aids in Singapore, they actually uses lead acid battery more than lithium-ion batteries.
Okay. So is there any weight restriction? I know like for electric scooter, there's a 20 kilogram weight restriction, right? So for mobility aid, is there any weight restriction?
No, there is actually no weight restrictions for mobility aids in Singapore.
So
the only requirement by the authorities will be that the speed of the mobility aids, the maximum speed is 10 kilometers per hour.
So who can buy a mobility aid?
Anybody can buy a mobility aid.
Anybody can buy?
But you don't want Foodpanda to use mobility aid, right?
I mean, if they wanted to.
If they wanted to. No, there was a
Your chicken rice will arrive in 45 minutes, right?
there was a Foodpanda delivery woman, right? That is using a mobility.
Oh yeah. No, is it Grab or Foodpanda?
No, it's not Foodpanda. I need to censor out Foodpanda.
Yeah, we need to censor everything. So it will be like that. So a food delivery service was using mobility aid.
Service person. There's incident people like they actually after they get introduced to a mobility aid, right? They actually able to do the delivery jobs. I think there's a story right on this woman, right, that she's using a mobility aid to do delivery services.
There's a news article
So
you can put it here.
actually it's I'll put it somewhere here. So actually it's pretty beneficial for people at all walks of life. But there's one thing that I want to ask Chu, you see, so you told me that the UL battery, right, is and the mobility aid, right, the battery is actually they can be the same, or they can, some is using lead acid, some is using lithium-ion battery, right. So in a recent Straits Times report, right, there's this fire incident in Ang Mo Kio flat, right, when the electric scooter exploded while being charged. So the flat was destroyed, the two neighboring units was damaged. So it's just not just this is not the only incident. So like 4 days earlier, right, there's also another incident in Bukit Batok. So this time is a very tragic incident. So one of the owner was pulled out of the flat, right, unconscious state, and then after that he unfortunately passed on. So and last year, right, there's like a 74 PMD related fire. So there's like a 51% spikes from 2017. So my question is this: UL and non-UL scooter. So are e-scooters safe? Are they really fire hazard?
Okay, I won't really put e-scooters in particular whether they are fire hazard or not, because if you look around all our appliances, most of them that is running on batteries is probably using lithium-ion batteries. Even your mobile phone right now. So if you look at statistics as a whole, for lithium-ion batteries, it's actually considered a very safe power storage technology. So it's actually not right to say that e-scooter is not safe because it's using lithium-ion batteries.
Correct.
Rather, I will actually put it this way: is that prior to 1st July 2019, there was no regulation that controls the import or the quality or the standard of e-scooters that people actually bring into Singapore.
So people could import their batteries from overseas.
Correct. Or they could have imported from some manufacturers or some trading company that is not producing good e-scooters. So with that, the government actually noticed this and they put these regulations that retailers all have to sell UL 272 certified e-scooters from 1st July onwards.
Okay.
So that's basically to make sure that at least whatever scooter that's coming into Singapore at least meet the certain minimum standard.
Yeah.
Okay. But having said that, most of these incidents that is happening is likely they are actually non-UL 2272 e-scooters. But the exact cause, to be frank, we are unsure. Because SCDF don't really share exactly what was happening. So basically they will share that a fire occurs, the origin is coming from e-scooter, and probably they also check from the owner that the e-scooter is being charged and the incident actually occurs. But why does the e-scooter actually caught fire? That is actually not investigated. I'm not exactly sure whether it's investigated and they did not release the information or not. At this moment, as far as we hear from the media, is up to the level that the fire came from the e-scooter and the e-scooter was charging. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, it always
So
happens to be when the scooter's charging, but you never hear like, was it because it was charging somewhere that it wasn't supposed to be? Like, how are they managing it? How are they handling how they charge their scooters?
And was the scooter actually the original stock version? Did the owner actually modify the scooter? And how long was the scooter being used prior to this? So there is a lot of question marks going on. But generally, as I shared earlier, that a lot of appliances, handphones, they are all using lithium-ion batteries, and generally, I can say that this technology is safe in its original condition.
Okay. So the thing is, but then we cannot deny that there's a high spike in the electric scooter fire. So my thought is you are right also, because the fire, right, is there's a lot of appliances using, and I think in 4 or 5 years, right, there wasn't any electric scooters in the country.
I think there is, but it's like they modify their own their own bicycle with motors and stuff.
That one is electric bicycle.
Right. And scooter as well. There wasn't like a industrial standard brand in the past, so people modify their own e-scooter, etc. So talk about this. Previously, I actually witnessed a fire because of the e-scooter when I was still staying in Pasir Ris. So it was awesome. The fire is coming out from the flat and stuff. So
That's
I was like, oh. Okay, so we saw the fireman came in, used the axe to break in the house, and then they actually pull out a burning e-scooter because of that. But I didn't know but it was kind of like people are saying it's because of the battery itself. So they are using some specific country brand battery, which I shouldn't name.
Very diplomatic.
Yeah. Okay. So if they found that they actually modified the battery pack on a mobile scooter, would mobile be liable because of this?
No, if the consumer modifies the battery or changes the battery from the original condition, then the consumer will have to be responsible for whatever actions that he took.
But because it's not disclosed whether they, in the official report, whether they swap the battery, so will it come to mobile for the first point of contact because of the brand?
Likely if the consumer has any issue with the scooters, whether is it any kind of issues, the first point of contact will always be the retailer. Right. It's who you buy from. You always get back to them and tell them what actually happens and things like this. Actually, it's actually on the retailer responsibility to also take a look at the scooter, see if it's actually because we are familiar with our own scooters. So by looking at that particular scooter, we would actually know more or less whether it has been modified. Okay, because to a certain extent, it doesn't burn to that. It doesn't burn to the extent it becomes ashes. You still see the frame, you probably still see the controller, you still see the motor. That's right. You can more or less still see the cells, but a portion of it probably is being burned off. So we still be able to actually know whether it's been modified or not.
There are like custom built high voltage battery, right? Being sold in the market right now. So this allow people to travel further with their e-scooter. So like those food delivery people, right? They actually needs to have a higher battery range. So are these like custom built high voltage battery? Are they safe?
Okay, the point that consumers need to take note is that when you actually purchase a UL 2272 certified e-scooter, the original unit was actually sent to the test lab for testing. So if it's been certified to UL 2272, that will basically only means that particular model in that particular condition is certified. Any changes to its electrical components, any changes to its mechanical components will actually deem it as non-certified. When I say deemed and non-certified means you need to send it back to the lab and get the lab to actually test again to make sure that whatever changes you made is still is able to pass all the tests. So the recommendation to all consumers will be that you do not make any modifications to the UL2272 for your own safety, because you don't know the person who is doing the modification. Are they really that competent to actually be able to choose the correct components, to choose the correct battery size?
That's also an assumption that I had about it, because I think back then, even though we had a lot of electric scooters, probably the only people who were modifying their electric scooters were people who were actual enthusiasts, so they'd already read up about it, they know how to change the parts, they study it properly before they do any changes to their scooters, so you never heard a lot about accidents or batteries blowing up or getting caught in fire or whatever. And then now, because there's a lot more people, the percentage increase of people using electric scooters, so now you've got a bigger percentage of people who are kind of not really aware of what they should be doing. They just hear a few things like, hey, you can actually change your battery, but they don't read up on it, so they just change battery without knowing exactly how they should do it, why they shouldn't be doing it.
So these are the people that
usually get into accidents because they don't know enough about it yet.
Right. The YouTube certified people.
So what do you mean by YouTube?
Some people, as an enthusiast, like you have some interest in interest in modeling. I will have to study what kind of paint can be used, is it etc. What kind of tools to use? Then you use a month or year to read about it and play with it.
Yeah.
But certain people, they thought that YouTube certified people are like, hey, I want to modify certain something. Go YouTube, read some tutorial, and then they start.
And they suddenly think they know it all.
Yeah, oh my God, especially those who know Excel and okay, stop.
Okay, so the YouTube modified people aside, right? So if they modify anything to the scooter, means it's not the UL certified is boya.
Correct.
So, but then what if they just use an external battery charge? Then what the UL?
Yes, because if you use an external battery, then it's likely there will be some slight modification to the wiring. So you probably need to have a port to come up for you to connect to the external battery. So that will also means there's some modifications. It may not be the major one, but the issue with this is that you cannot assume that it's okay. You can only the engineers or the factory engineers or the certification lab engineers is able to verify through proper testing. You can't just say, I choose a thicker wire and it's going to be safe. Because at the end of the day, you don't know how does this external battery with that wiring works together with the whole entire scooter as a whole. So it's not just about choosing the best battery and choosing right gauge of wire. It's about the entire system as a whole. How the external battery, will it affect the original electrical system? Will it be pumping in too much current? Things like this. So there's more than just choosing the right battery itself.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask too. So you buy a UL2272 scooter, and then it comes with a charger, and the person charges it. It doesn't charge as fast as he wants it to charge, so he decides to go and get something that has fast charging. Is that a bad idea?
Yes, that's a bad
Because the
idea.
voltage would be different, right?
Okay, the voltage will be the same. So usually how fast charging work is that they will pump in more current in a shorter time as compared to a normal charger. So what happens is that when you pump in more current, basically more heat is generated.
That's right.
Usually for a good design battery, there is a battery management system that is able to detect the current flow, is able to detect heat. So if it senses that something is wrong, the BMS will usually cut off the entire electrical supply, and that's basically to prevent the battery from overheating. So for UL2272 certified e-scooters, it is a requirement by the UL testing lab or any kind of accredited testing lab that the manufacturer must state clearly the model of the charger on the menu and on the scooter.
So only buy from the retailers that sell you the certified UL.
Correct. So getting from retailers one point. The other thing is that they also want the consumer to know that this particular model you must only use this particular
Because even then, as
charger.
a retailer, you can't you can't be sure that they won't just buy from you. They'll probably buy from a third party if it's cheaper. But at least if you tell them what kind of charger they should be using.
So that's a good question also. So how do you differentiate scooter that's UL2272? I mean I can look at there's a lot of scooter that looks the same to me. So I don't know how do you know what is UL2272? So how will the authority enforce this on the road?
Okay, on visually wise, usually I would say usually most of the e-scooters that has UL2272 certification, there will be some kind of marking, whether it's on the rating label, whether it's unique sticker that is actually stick on the scooter. So this is basically for the consumers to identify whether their scooter is actually UL2272 or not. So basically, you can have two very similar looking scooters, same brand, but because one was actually produced much earlier. That was before they got the certification, so that particular scooter won't have that label.
So is there any model currently on the market that is having this type of situation where the older one is not certified and the newer one is certified?
There is a lot. So take for example the popular one like DYU and Fido. So DYU just recently launched and released their UL2272 certified e-scooter. So from the visual wise, it's exactly the same. So you can only see by the UL sticker.
So once you tamper with the sticker, is the certification void?
No, it's actually not a tamper-proof kind of sticker. Because at the end of the day, you also must think back. What is the testing lab doing? Their responsibility is basically to test the product and says that you send these samples and the test and it's being certified.
Right.
Their purpose is not like an enforcement kind of thing. It's not the kind of thing whereby they say this is fake and that's not fake.
Okay.
So there's no such thing as you tear out the sticker and it becomes one.
Oh, then if that's the way, how does the law enforcement they actually verify is it whether UL2272 certified or not?
So
Because
that's
like for example, my friend and I is like riding his is not certified, mine so I will stop by the law enforcement. So how do they actually tell the difference?
okay. They will visually see to identify the sticker.
So I can print a fake sticker and stick there.
Correct, but that will mean you are.
Are you trying to teach something?
No, just generally, you see, I'm saying that most people are nice people or honest people, but there are people out there that might be doing all these type of things.
Right.
So, so how can you tell? Is there any way?
I mean, they probably have a standardized list or something, right, of things they need to check for when they screen these scooters.
Okay, the authorities actually took two approaches. The first approach is actually registration. So the moment you buy a sticker, you have to register.
Correct.
And during the registration itself, you have to take a picture of the sticker.
Okay.
Second thing is that the enforcement officer, when they're on the ground, when they look at this particular scooter, they will try to find or they will ask for that particular sticker on the e-scooter. So surely if you lost it somehow or you damaged it somehow, at least because you registered, they still can refer back to a registration record to at least justify or show that this is indeed a UL2272 e-scooter.
Speaking of registration, right? So now everyone. So is it like anyone that buy an e-scooter now they are all registered from an official retailer? Or how does that work? The registration thing right now.
So the process goes something like this: when a retailer sells to an owner, he has to register it almost immediately. Almost immediately. So he registered it to LTA1 motoring website using their SingPass. If it's a corporate, then using CorpPass. Then they'll be given an identification number, so in alphabets and numbers. So within 3 days, they will have to fabricate the sticker where they paste it on the sticker. So that is actually a very prominent sticker. It's either black background, white words, yellow background, black words. And within 14 days, LTA will send them a tamper-proof LTA registration mark.
Okay.
So that is actually tamper-proof. When we say tamper-proof means if you stick it on one scooter and you try to attempt to tear it out,
Correct.
they will leave marks on the existing scooter. So when you transfer it to the next scooter, the officer can immediately see this is being removed.
Right. So that's their way of stopping people from registering official scooter and transferring the mark to one that's not official. So when doing checks, they
Correct. But that doesn't stop people from modifying the scooter after that as well. Because I think on the road you have seen some certain age group of people. They actually, they might do some painting modification. They even put like LED lights all around. They're like a running disco with speakers around. So they actually like paint over the sticker itself. So does that void the registration?
If they paint over a sticker, then the office won't be able to identify the sticker.
So that's good.
Somewhat.
Don't pay.
Why?
Okay, usually the sticker are stick in somewhere that it's under the deck. It's at the bottom and things like that. So it's likely that you won't be able to. It's not the areas that you would like to do a wrap over or paint over.
Okay. So is attaching a lot of LED light considered an offense?
Yes. Well, it's an offense to the eyes.
It is, huh?
It's an offense. It's an offense to my eyes. My eyes hurt every time I see it.
This is a bloody Fast and Furious era kind of thing.
So talking about Fast and Furious, right? Actually, I understand that actually the LT actually roll out a few safe riding regulations. So what's the thing that they roll out?
Okay, the safe riding program is part of the LTA and the industry initiative to encourage safe riding habits. So I think education has to be ongoing. There's no such thing as once you reach a certain point you stop. It just has to continue. I mean, not only e-scooters. I think if you look at the overall, so whether it's littering, whether it's smoking at non-designated areas, correct? There bound to be people who who try to test water, who tries to break the law. So the education part has to always be there, because there will be people who is from kids they become youngsters. So you need to carry on this. So the safe riding program is actually one of the initiatives. And that
So what's the safe riding program?
Basically, it share with you through games. I won't really say games, obstacles, different tests to actually educate good riding habits. So take for example things like when you actually is approaching a zebra crossing, you should actually stop and you look for traffic and make sure the traffic actually knows that you are there before you actually cross. It's basically the same as
primary school.
Correct.
Oh, the road safety
No,
part.
Correct. It's essentially similar to that. Yeah, it's actually similar to that.
Okay.
So you should ask all the riders to go to road safety park.
So how where they conduct this safe riding program?
LTA has actually a few vendors that are actually holding this safe riding program. So it actually depends on the vendors. So they do have regular safe riding programs. At times they may also hold it with some corporates, like food delivery companies. They may hold it separately. They may actually work with townhouses or even resident committees to hold it for their own residents.
So but then the thing is, right, so as a retailer, right, so is it required for a retailer to teach safe riding to the consumer?
Okay, just like the public, the riders and the retailers, we are part of this entire community. So there is a part that we also have to play. So the very first important point will be that we should only sell, or any retailer should only sell compliance with this. So that is the first barrier to actually prevent riders from having, or public from having access to a non-compliance with them. So that is actually the first point. Second thing, when we sell, we are sharing with them some of the good riding habits and some of the regulations, like pedestrian pathway, you can only ride 10 kilometers per hour. When you're going to park connector network, you can ride up to 25 kilometers per hour. But you should always take the pedestrian safety as the main priority. Even in the park connector network, you see kids playing in front, they're kicking ball and things like this. Yeah. You shouldn't assume that because the law states that you can ride up to 25, you're going to zoom past 25. You should be gracious enough to say that this is a situation whereby you should actually ride slower because you don't know the kids will run out of time. Yeah. To disallow e-scooters to be right under void decks or corridors.
So basically, you can see a lot of food deliveries start pushing when they go into the
It's not right.
Well, if we're being honest, nobody really follows that rule. Like, you have under your void decks, those signs where they say no playing. Or like they have the sign where no cycle.
This is just a precedent.
And it's like, I mean, who actually follows those rules?
I follow.
I follow.
I mean, sure, whatever. If you want to pretend that you follow it, fine. But I mean, most people in their life, they're kind of they're going to try and skirt it every time if they can. And you can't really enforce it 24/7, but, it's a deterrent. That's pretty much what it is, right? It's just a deterrent. It's people who don't want to follow it, they're still not going to follow it in the end.
That's true.
So I think that's where most problems arise anyway, when, you have a guy who's trying to be considerate, he's already stopped, he's letting you pass, but then you as a father, you're being an asshole, just being like accusatory and having this very confrontational tone in your voice. Why can't you just be nice like he already did?
Well, it might be social media attention
I guess so.
For the rider.
from.
Any one more point?
Yes.
The same for pedestrian pathway. The law did not really state to the extent who has the 100% right of way. So take for example, e-scooter riding is coming towards you and you are walking with your kids.
Right.
Who has the right of way? Basically, what the authorities trying to do is that they're trying to promote a gracious culture where both parties come to some kind of compromise. Who lets who to actually go past. Actually, in terms of safety wise,
That's
the
the
pedestrian.
That's the word.
Actually,
Compromise.
Actually, in terms of safety wise, the riders should always give priority to the riders. To the pedestrians. I think if both parties would have act graciously, I think basically there is no issue. With my kids around, I'll probably be also stalking that guy.
Correct.
So I think for this point, the very fact that the rider did stop and they smile, or not really they smile, right? He stopped and he let the kids actually walk past. I think he's doing his part in terms of showing that he knows what is that. He knows that the kids are around. He should stop. So I think the father should also take the stand that I'm not sure exactly what tone he used to talk to him. But if it has, I believe it has been. If it has been a casual tone, things like this, it would have gone to this.
Yes, it's have to be compromising a bit. So, but then the truth is there's actually a lot of negative sentiments on the electric scooter riding on pedestrian. So one thing
Wait, I was standing.
Okay.
For e-scooter riders like us, even the park connector network or any park, we also see people walking on cycling path.
Yep.
Is the cyclist going to just shout at them and get them to siap? No, right? The riders will still just find a way over. So I think it's actually both parties. If there is a cycling path, then you jolly well be at the jogging path or the walking path. You shouldn't be at the cycling path. But we still see in this Coast Park, people are just walking, where people are just cycling, and then
Why is
it's actually both parties. You have to just.
Why is e-scooter starting such a controversy when in the past bicycle on the pavement they ride fast or what, people just give way to each other, then it's fine. Why is e-scooter causing such big commotion over small issues?
It's all bicycle, right? No matter how fast you ride, right? It cannot be. It's not. It can be very fast, but you have to be very pro at riding. But usually at a normal cycling speed, it's not that. Even if there's accident, right? Usually the accident is not very severe, but in an electric scooter point of view, right? So the speed limit is 25 km/h, right?
For cycling path.
The electric scooter actually have potential to go higher 25 km/h. So that's why any accident that involves an electric scooter, usually right, incidents that involve that. Sometimes on the park, right, I'm just walking. So so one advice for a pedestrian when walking on a pedestrian path is one thing: this path does not belong to everyone. I think it's a shared path. So when you are walking, it's better to walk on the left side. So always try to keep on the left side if you want to, especially with the raising of the electric scooter usage. So this scooter rider, most of them are very nice people. They use e-scooter as a way of transportation. So the way they travel, I think is very is okay. So LPA set the speed. So walking speed, what's the speed?
About 5 kilometers per hour.
So at a walking path is 5 km.
Army marching speed.
Okay, so for the shared path, what's the speed?
25 kilometers per hour.
Shared path. Shared path is 25 km.
Shared path basically means it's both a cycling lane and one example of a shared path would be park connector network. So you can both walk and cycle at the same time. So usually shared path are larger. Much larger than a normal pedestrian path.
So how do you tell whether this is a shared path or not? Just by the size of the pedestrian path?
Usually the terrain is different for a cycling path.
It's like a road terrain.
So strap up is like a road terrain.
You also see signs
Yeah.
You also see signs that this is shared.
And the road, they say PCN.
Right, road also indicate PCN.
So
You have to put some images, right?
But I think on pedestrian pathway, I think just like my normal experience would be that if I'm riding behind, there are pedestrians in front and I'm shooting towards them, so their back is actually facing me. I will actually slow down just to make sure that they know that I'm behind. The sound of the horn, so that from my rider point of view is that I already took my step to be gracious. I slow down, I sound the horn. So the next step for you is that if you know I'm around, I'll appreciate if you can move one side so that I can actually go through. I do a counter situation whereby the pedestrian look at me and then they just continue walking and not giving me a path to go through. I think that is not gracious enough. I mean, I will put it the other way. If the rider rides very fast and then jam brake behind you or sound a very loud horn, I think if you give me that face, I'm still able to accept. But if I really slow down and just ding ding ding, you should just move one side. Just let me. I think everybody can still be happy. You can still continue your walk. I can still carry on shooting at my 10 kilometers per hour.
So speaking of this incident, actually online recently there's one of this video posted online, right? On this man, this food delivery rider. It's from it's very green color. So he was traveling down this park, right? So after that, so he was stopped by this uncle. So he was right. I don't know how fast he's riding. So when the video starts, we'll play the videos. We'll put the link of the video at the description.
Do you have to specify this video?
So what happened is in this video, right? This uncle stopped this food delivery driver. Okay, so he was scolding this person. So then he was saying that he was at one point of time, right? He was telling the rider, saying that he's talking to someone else. He's saying that asking whether this is an electric scooter or electric bicycle. So
no, it's a moped.
It's not a moped.
But you mean the person that stopped and asked whether it's a scooter or
So he was asking whether this is an electric bicycle or electric scooter.
No, uncle,
So
it's
he
an
was-
airplane.
When the Active Mobility Act came into enforcement in 1st May 2018, I think at the point of time, even for a few months after that, I think a lot of public is still unsure that the law actually allows PMDs, in particular electrical scooters, to be used on pedestrian pathways.
That's right.
So you still get a lot of reports whereby a pedestrian quarrel with riders that you're not supposed to be here, you're supposed to be on the road. But the law actually states that they're not supposed to be on the road.
That's right.
They're supposed to be on the pedestrian pathway and the cycling path. So I think it takes time for the public to actually know. So I think as of now, I think most of the consumer would have known that the law already allows them to be used on the pedestrian pathway. And talking about the point about e-bikes and e-scooters, so the key differentiation between the e-bike and e-scooter is that e-bikes have pedal, just like a conventional bicycle. It has pedal. To be frank, the moment it goes without pedal is classified under e-scooter.
So if you have stands, if you have okay, so even the pedals is there for show, is there considered e-bike?
Yes.
Well, if
The
it's there
moment
for
it has-
show only, why would you have it in the
Yeah,
first
what
place?
you mean? You are going to mod a pedal on the e-scooter?
You're gonna purposely
Some-
make
How
your-
is that going to
So
work?
if you make a pedal, does that make that electric?
Show me how do you pedal on the
So it usually goes this way. If you go and mod a conventional bicycle into powered by electricity, you're basically having an illegal e-bike.
So there's also some electric scooter that looks like bicycle.
What?
Yeah, there's a bit.
Yeah,
a
like
few.
okay, you're talking about something like the DYU model where it looks like a bicycle, right?
Yeah.
But
looks
I
like
mean,
bicycle.
Look, it's a stupid reason to say that the person thought it was an e-bike and that the guy should go on the road. Clearly, the closer the DYU gets to you, you see that there's no pedal. He's not pedaling. It's not an e-bike.
So it's a stand and a pedal. Don't.
It's a visual reference. Like it's so clear.
Okay, can you put like?
But here's my
Okay,
theory.
okay.
But here's my theory on why people are getting so angry about this whole
Okay.
situation. I think it's because it's changing a way of life that people are kind of used to. So like it was kind of a point of contention for when bikes first came out as well. So like people were used to a certain way of living, like a bicycle would pass by all of a sudden and then they got angry. So I think because it's a big change to your quality of life, right? Electric scooters are coming around, it's making travel easier, but at the same time you're going to have a whole bunch of people who are against that change. So they're just going to be angry just because they don't want to change with the times. And I think that's the biggest point of contention. That's why you can't really see a lot of people being nice to electric scooters right now. But I think at some point in time, they're just going to have to accept it because it's going to happen. It's here. You have to accept the change. And I don't believe for a second that they can't adapt to the change because, I mean, did you see this article about, well, not really an article. It was more like a little text of something where they were saying that old people actually know how to use technological devices. They just don't. They're just stubborn. They don't want to learn unless it interests them specifically. So like, the old people that go to gambling casinos and like, these are the same people that'll say, I don't know how to use a smartphone, but then they go to a gambling casino and it's all electronically manipulated devices. So like electronic slots, whatever, and they know how to use it. They're experts at using it. So these people can still learn. They just don't want to learn it if it doesn't interest them. So I think at the same time for electric scooters, like if you could just stop being arrogant in your head for a minute and just accept that this is a change that's going to happen in your environment, you'd be a lot less angry.
Oh, you can start another topic, on the podcast. First, adapting to changes.
Maybe the next podcast we will talk about this. Okay, so but we also have to be a bit of understanding of them. That okay,
of course, I'm not saying we don't have to be understanding of them, but I mean, it's a two-way street.
Yeah,
I'd probably be like, public education is needed because some people is like they are confused within the e-bike, the law of e-bike comparing to law of the e-scooter. So in probably some people's their concept is like, hey, this is a rule for e-scooter. E-bike should follow the same rule as well, vice versa. So maybe they mix up. Is there like a big difference between the e-bike road regulation compared to the e-scooter?
So e-bikes can be used on cycling path and vehicle roads, but they cannot be used on pedestrian pathway.
Right.
So for e-scooter wise, you can use on pedestrian pathway and cycling path,
Right.
but you cannot use on the road.
Yeah, because this wasn't actually specified in any like LTA rules or that kind of thing. There's no like visual implementation over the parks. That sometimes they have like a bicycle and a human, so this is a shared path for both of them.
do they have it?
I think in my opinion, I think the authorities did what they could to share whatever regulations there is, but I think it's a tendency for anyone to only look at what is interested to you.
Yeah.
So even if you put a poster there, you probably see it, but you're totally not interested. Then you probably won't remember.
Yeah. Because probably it's like, hey, got motor on the road. I think that's what my parents think as well. Cause I was suggesting to my dad to buy like an e-bike. Then after or e-scooter because he fell from his bicycle. Yeah, because he not enough strength to pedal. So I was suggesting, he said, no, he doesn't want to buy an e-scooter because he doesn't want to travel on the road. So people are still having this conception that once you have a motor, you have to ride on the road.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put this conception to rest. So for PMD classified by the LTA, what type of device belongs to PMD?
Electrical scooters, hoverboards, unicycles. These are all classified as PMDs.
So there's this one unicycle is just 1 wheel, one correct 1 wheel.
Then it's quite unicycle. How many you want the unity?
So does all PMDs need to be registered, including hoverboards and unicycle?
No, registration only applies to e-scooters.
Okay, so registration only for e-scooter. So what can be on the road in terms of PMDs and PMA?
E-bikes.
Only e-bikes.
So e-bikes, if you're using the LTA way of describing it, is they actually call it power-assisted bicycles. So PABs to actually use it. So PABs can be used on the roads, just like a conventional bicycle. So both the conventional bicycle and the electrical bicycle can be used on the vehicle roads. But you must be 16 years and above. You must wear helmet. Makes sense? Alright. So this is the requirement.
So if you are riding e-scooter, do you need to wear helmet?
At this moment, no. So there's been ongoing
It's highly
discussion.
encouraged.
Yeah, it's highly
Yeah,
encouraged.
it's good to wear.
So there's been ongoing discussion whether riders need to wear helmet, whether is it mandatory to get riders to actually purchase third-party liability insurance. So this has been always in the discussion.
So is it for third party liability insurance? Do you think it's worthwhile for electric scooter user or PMB users to get this insurance themselves, or is the retailer gonna help?
Okay, so actually we actually wrote an article on e-scooter insurance or e-bike insurance in general. It actually depends on how you're using it. Basically, if you're just a leisure rider, you don't really ride much and you feel you're actually safe enough, basically your personal accident insurance is able to cover much of your so-called issues. Okay. But if you are a food delivery rider or you tend to use it very frequently, we would advise that the rider actually gets e-scooter insurance or that covers the party liability to a very high extent, because the main key difference between PMD insurance or e-scooter insurance and the personal accident insurance is that the PMD insurance actually covers a lot in terms of the party liability. In other words, if you would really one day you have no intention of knocking into someone, but somehow or rather you just knock into someone, and then the person has to be hospitalized, there is a lot of medical bills, at least the insurance company will pay out. Even you don't have that financial capability, at least with that insurance it will pay out to the elderly or whatever. So the key difference between e-scooter insurance and the normal personal accident insurance is actually the third party liability.
So what's third party liability?
Basically, when you're being sued by someone for causing damages to himself or the property.
Only when you are being sued?
Correct, only when you're being sued.
What about like if you injured someone? Does the third party liabilities cover that?
No. So usually for most of insurance, if I'm not wrong, the legal process has to go in. Yeah. Without the legal process, the insurance will be coming in. So it need not be to the extent where you need to go to court, but probably it will have to be some kind of lawyer to lawyer kind of. It means probably a lot. Other party lawyer will send a legal document to you to claim damages. So it need not be a court case.
Well, I mean, the thing I understand about insurance is that you're insured if the accident happens to you. If you cause the accident, why do I have to pay you?
So, but the third party liability is for the rider, right? So, if the rider caused the accident to someone,
He can't claim insurance.
the rider can't claim any insurance.
He can't claim it for himself.
Yeah.
But the insurance will still pay out.
Only if the
insurance would still pay him out.
So,
Correct, the
if
insurance
the
will pay. It's the same as car insurance.
okay.
If you knock against another person's car, it's your fault, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the insurance still pay out to the other party.
Oh, okay.
Because
the
it
insurance
comes-
would pay out to
Correct,
the other
because
party,
it comes under
Yeah.
that part comes under the third party liability. But if you want to claim yourself, then it's a separate thing. You probably have to pay higher premiums or probably have to pay excess, things like this.
So we don't want to go down the whole process of how you can get the how the process
Yes,
of the
yeah.
third party liability is being paid, right? But you can check out
Mobot.
check out Mobot. We'll put it there, so you can read about it on that. Just now we talked about UL as well. So Mobot actually wrote an article on UL 272. It's a pretty comprehensive one. You also put it at the description below, so if you all want to, you all can check it out as well. And they also did they also did a registration process, right? You all have one articles on registration. I also put a link there, so you all can check it out there as well. So before we end this, right, I want to ask Chu, right? So because of the recent fire incident happening and all the different confrontations between pedestrians and electric scooter rider. Okay. So how can an electric scooter owner take care of their device so that they can minimize this sort of fire safety hazard and risk first? Then second is in terms of safety riding, what can electric scooter rider do to minimize this sort of confrontation with the pedestrians? And then lastly is what can pedestrians do as well?
Okay, I think in a nutshell, I think we're just talking about e-scooter riders on our own, not talking about the public and the community. I think there are things that we need to do ourselves. So things like ensuring that your scooter is in good condition, you don't watch it, modify it. Because the issue with this is that if we as a community, e-scooter community, we don't do things right ourselves, somebody else is going to come in and set the regulations. So this is the problem that you're going to face, or the community is going to face. When you don't do anything, when we don't take care of ourselves, somebody is going to come in and say, okay, you're going to do this, and it's going to make life difficult for the riders, for the retailers, and for everyone. So I think the first step in terms of safety wise is that don't modify your scooters. So keep it as in original stock condition. Get it serviced regularly, 3 months, 6 months, do it a quarterly thing. Don't ride in the rain. A lot of people thought that that the scooter is waterproof, splash proof. I will actually put it this way: it may be splash proof, it may be waterproof when you first bought it, fresh out of factory. There's no cracks. Every seal is actually perfect.
Right.
But you can't say it 1 year later with all the knocks and everything. It's going to be cracks. Water is going to get in. So you can't assume that it's going to be 5 years, 10 years. It's going to be still as good as before. So it's important to get it serviced. It's important not to ride in the rain. If you really do ride in the rain, don't charge it immediately when you get home. It's best, slow down. And don't. If possible, try to bring it back to the retailer. At least get them to open up, take a look at it. The water really gets into the electrical compartment. So usually, it's correct to say that usually fire occurs during the charging process, because that is where there is current that is flowing into the system. So usually, if there's no current flowing in the system, generally the system is so-called dormant, or in fact, no chemical reactions actually happening. That's why it's important to make sure that your scooter is in good condition.
Is there any self-check they can do?
Not much. I would say preventive measures more than self-check. Because most consumers won't be that tech savvy they may know how to open up, but they may not know how to put it back.
So if they have any concern about their scooter itself, can they bring down the mobile for a checkup?
But we charge though.
How much? Okay, so one thing is that I read online, right? There's a lot of the fire case, right, happens is because the battery, right, got into water and they charge it and it got bloated. So is there any way like you can tell this battery is like waterlogged, then you can't charge it? Is there any way for these people to tell?
Rice.
Huh?
Rice.
Put it in rice.
So is it right? Is it okay to say that if you ride through the rain, then it's better to let your scooter go and check out your scooter first before you charge it, or is it okay to just charge it as usual?
Well, like you said earlier, I mean, if you just came from the rain, don't charge it immediately. Let it dry off by itself for a little bit before you start charging.
Best is to bring it to a retailer to open up and check it out.
Yeah, but we can't change people mindset, right? Sometimes when they get home, they just want to charge everything at full blast, then they'll go out again. So even though there are people that charge even their bag at home, but just keep a close eye. The things they're doing is like you're boiling water, you can't just leave it and go to a shower, go wet or something like that. Right? So always keep a close eye on the things that you're charging. So
But generally with a UL2272 e-scooter, the battery management system, or the VMS, rightfully it should stop. It should stop the charging process if it detects any fault. So that is the first step to preventing of any incident from happening. Alright. So it's good that the regulation is actually in place.
For the rider, PMD owners, is to exercise proper care for the device to prevent sort of things happening. Okay, you might be able, maybe you ride in the rain 10 times or you do something to your battery 10 times, there's nothing happen. But only just take one time to change your whole life. The fire can cause a lot of damage, and at worst, like the Bedok incident, it could cause death. So for all PMD riders, it's better to take care of your devices, and if you've got any doubt, just go for your local retailers to let them check it out on the health of your device. It's always better to be safe than to sorry, correct? So then, so to finally round this up, is advice for the general publics on how they can be how they can react to an e-scooter rider riding past them. Is there any advice?
Just be courteous, just be gracious, just be aware of your surroundings, and know that you're not the only person in the world other people use that path to.
Okay. Yeah. So
We have this slogan, right? Sharing is caring, right?
sharing is caring.
Well, I don't like to share my stuff, but I'll move out of the way if I have to.
You share the path.
Yeah,
you share. There are things that we can share, but there are things that we cannot share. But public roads are meant to be shared. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so PMD rider, don't ride on the road. PMD.
Okay.
So PMD riders, don't ride on the road. Electric bicycle rider,
Round the road.
ride on the road. Okay.
And you insist on being a dick about it, and you still want to ride on the road. Ride on the side.
No.
No, you
Don't be
can't.
a dick.
Yeah, I know.
Don't be a dick.
Obviously, don't be a dick, but I mean, it's going to happen. It's always happening somewhere in Singapore. So you can't change their mindset because they think they're reckless, they're gangster, whatever. If you have to use the road, ride to the side. Cyclists ride on the side. Why should you, as someone with an electric scooter, suddenly ride in the middle of the road? Like you're already causing a disturbance,
So if everyone keeps to their side of the road and be gracious, courteous to riders, then I think we can have a flourishing electric scooter industry.
Oh, nice word to say, flourish.
Yeah. And so so till that, right, we're gonna end this show. Thank you, Chu, for coming. Good to have John back with us. So as a guest. And see you guys.
Thank you everyone for listening to the podcast. We hope you really enjoy it and you are able to gain some insight on the PMD situation in Singapore. This podcast was recorded before the recent announcement to move forward the UL 2272 safety certification by 6 months to July 2020. Recently, the Senior Minister of State for Transport, Mr. Lam Ping Ming, announced in Parliament on Monday, August 5, that they will be moving forward the UL 2272 safety certifications to 6 months to July 2020. The previous UL 2272 safety deadline was set at December 2020, so now they have moved it forward 6 months to July 2020. So another information that we received was that the 15 town council run by the People Action Party, the PAP, they have decided to ban personal mobility device on void decks and common area. This ban will take effect on September 1. I've included both of the news into the show notes. If you are interested, you can take a look at both of these news. And lastly, once again, thank you for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate you listening to the end of the podcast. If you really like it, please help us to like. If you want to hear more of this type of podcast or just hear us talking, you can subscribe to our podcast. We are on Spotify, Castbox, or the easiest way is the most common places at YouTube, or you can check us out at Facebook at facebook.com/intrepids with a Z. Thank you. See you guys. We have come to the end of the podcast.